You're listening to a portion of our conversation from episode 239, featuring the Jurassic Wire with myself, Brad Jost, and co-host Aaron Beyer. If you want to hear the full conversation, download the full episode on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the return to production and filming for Jurassic World Dominion. We're going to be discussing those safety regulations and how this may affect the production moving forward. We hope you enjoyed this discussion, so let's head to that tower, boost the signal, and relay the latest episode of the Jurassic Wire. I wanted to talk about, the fact that Jurassic World Dominion announced that it's going to be returning to filming, production, and everything. The production, I guess, has already resumed at this point. They kind of said, a week later or something. Well, I think it probably says it here in the article, but the film is supposed to start rolling out again July 6th, which is coming up pretty soon here. So
pretty quick.
They're gonna be rolling those cameras July 6th at Pinewood Studios in the UK. So they're kind of touting this, I guess, as the first film to restart properly in the UK. I also saw that Avatar has been shooting in New Zealand, so that's a thing as well. So they're not alone. Jurassic is not alone. It's just, I guess, the first to be filming at Pinewood, which is, it's kind of weird. Like right now, I don't know what to think about films restarting. I feel like it's probably still not a good idea, especially.
Oh, I'm with you.
Especially around here, I know you're in a different area, much more up north, but down here in the States and around the country, even, numbers are starting to rise again, and of course plummet in other areas too. So I know my area is considered one of the safer areas, but I don't know. I'm not following it too closely as far as what the UK is doing and how they're, faring right now. But it still does make me nervous, despite the plan to have all of these, new safety standards in place.
Yeah, well, and I was even looking, I think I saw a photo of the safety standards, and it's really just a sink with soap, water, and some sanitizer. I don't know, man. I don't think it's the right time to be going. I'm in the industry. My job depends on all these movies gearing up and getting going. But look, at the cost of potential safety hazards happening. I know we joke, but in all seriousness, we've all been super excited for the big three to return. Mm-hmm. The big three, and I don't mean any disrespect, people get older. The big three are older.
Yeah.
And they're obviously they're not the only ones that we need to be concerned about, right? There's all kinds of people all the way from actors, directors, cast and crew down to catering services, right? The catering services, yeah. I doubt they'll have the big spread that most movie sets usually have. They'll probably be doing a lot of door-to-door delivery at this point, with trailers and stuff. But I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the right time. I don't know how I would feel. I would be devastated if something happened, obviously, to any of the actors that we've been excited to see in this film. I'm all for just being more cautious than anything. And one thing we had talked about was, what does this movie look like? This is essentially, I know that Frank Miller has said, no, it's not the end.
You mean Frank Marshall?
Frank Miller. Frank Marshall has said that this is not the end, but I kind of have to feel like this is probably the end, maybe for Owen and Claire. And we had talked about Owen and Claire. What does the hero's kiss look like in this film? They've kissed in both films. What does that look like? Does that happen in this new one? Do they handshake? Well, it's great doing business with you.
Even still.
No, you can't even do that.
I don't know, man. I wonder the same thing, and it doesn't seem like something that should happen, and that might be very gratifying for a lot of fans out there, because those moments certainly were highly talked about. Especially in Jurassic World, that didn't need to happen, that moment right there. So, and I can understand it. It didn't need to happen, but, you know, it was a kind of momentous occasion, and it worked out for the two of them. But, I mean,
it doesn't need to happen, but
no.
it is such a tropey thing to happen in film,
Mhm.
and it's going to happen, right? Like,
I mean,
I
you
don't
would
know.
think, you know, at
all
least
the tropes are there.
if it doesn't happen, you would think that there's still some closeness, and even if it's not, you know, a love scene of sorts, it's you know, being next to somebody, driving next to somebody, doing stunts next to somebody. So it all seems a little dangerous. You know, this is a movie where, you know, think about all the different movies so far, and there's always a moment where somebody's like taking a kid and going, "Come here, like let me save you," like, you know,
or grabbing a child,
or pushing somebody, or just like thinking about that moment on the rope in the Lost World where they're all just like on this rope together, you know, like stuff like that where everybody is in close quarters, or the you know, Owen and the two kids in Jurassic World when they're in the what do you call it, like that little, you know, sales area outside on Main Street that they're trying to get away from the Indominus, like stuff like that. I wonder how that looks. And I guess that stuff aside, we also have to wonder about Isabella Sermon, who plays Maisie Lockwood in these movies. So I know that's like, we've been talking about that, I think, a little bit here and there. We probably talked about it. I always lose track of who I talk things with. But
sure.
You know, that's concerning for me because we already talked about her age. Maybe she might age up over the course of this. I don't know. But we also have to worry about like her safety as well, because she's in a different place where, you know, it's not necessarily, it's up to like her parents and everything, right? To be able to continue along with this and be a part of this. And that would, as a parent, like letting my kid go into a movie is one thing, but then to have to deal with also a global pandemic that's kind of scary, and also allow your kid go into a movie that's like, it's a little nerve-wracking, and I wonder how they're feeling right now. I don't, you know, I don't wish that upon anybody. So that's a tough choice and a tough thing to be a part of.
You know, the Marvel movies shoot a lot of their scenes just, you know, if you look at those movies, a lot of the like the talking heads, like the Head and Shoulders, it's just they're in front of a green screen. There's no one else on set with them. You know, you could kind of treat this like a closed set almost, you know, maybe for like a lot of like, I know it's a family show, so I'll say like maybe some like rated R movies might have sequences where you would have minimal staff on set. Shooting, you know, with one actor, right? But I don't know. Jurassic there's chaos sequences that count on multiple people.
Yeah.
Sure, you could I've seen visual effects come through that are amazing that you would never know are visual effects. I've seen shots where you would never know that these people weren't together on set. So, you know, that's going to up the visual effects budget, of course. But I would just say at this stage, it's like, we got to just be super safe. And I need this movie to be delayed. Like, I don't want them to rush it. I don't want them to be, hey, we're the first ones up, because they're still trying to hit this June 2021 you know, thing. I know we said on the last show, and I kind of mentioned that Jurassic historically shoots backplates and then fills it in with CG. You know, so I don't know if it's even possible to get this movie done now in a year. There's no way. I feel like there's no way.
Don't mind me, I'm not looking at the screen, but I'm trying to look for a tweet that I sent. But I agree, man. I feel like it's at a point now where like we got to rush to hit a date that we've already set, and chance risking the status of like what this movie is, how it's, you know, how it turns out, and especially the lives of the cast and crew, all just to hit a date that we could just change. You know, we could just get rid of this date and move it back a full year, but they just refuse to do this, and I don't know why. I don't know why. And I've just for months now, essentially, because this all started at the very beginning when, like, you know, Fast and Furious is like, we're going to move stuff right away. But I thought this from the beginning, like, when is it coming? It's going to come anytime now, any day. It's happening anytime. Jurassic June, they're going to definitely do it, right?
Wonder Woman has delayed twice. So
yeah.
And that's simply because, I mean, look, they can say, I get it, the theaters aren't open, but there's just no way that movie's done. You know, there's no way that they've finished all the, I mean, I guess visual effects can kind of be done like via servers and stuff, but like there's no way they've brought in cast to do like ADR voiceover work into a closed studio. Like there's no way that's happening. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was looking up while I was talking there because I remembered, talking about rushing this movie out and trying to be first, to say we're the first ones to restart. A lot of tweets like this were floating around during that, initial week when this news came out. But one here I have, retweeting that Variety tweet that says, that Universal's going to, have safety precautions. This one's from, let's see, Eden_eats. And it says Jurassic Park is literally about reopening a park in spite of it consistently resulting in large-scale death. Now, I know a lot of people took issue with that on a technicality that Jurassic Park is not literally about reopening a park in spite of the deaths and stuff. And that really angered me because I'm like, we understand what the person is trying to say. Let's not get so technical about it. And I actually came out and said, like, I know the semantics of this is getting feathers ruffled, but it's not something that bothers me. Casually speaking, it's not completely an incorrect point of view. A lot of people kind of interchange Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. They just kind of synonymously use those things all together. Right. So I feel like Jurassic World is literally about, a park reopening in spite of all the deaths that have already occurred.
One movie out of 5, right.
So that is literally about that. And even Jurassic Park, though, is about opening a park, in spite of all of these deaths or however many, one death or whatever that happened. So I was laughing about that, and I know a lot of people were saying that's literally what Jurassic Park is about, and it was like people were going into a tizzy, and I was just like, it's fine, like it's not that big of a deal. We don't have to start arguments about what the literal meaning of these things are. It's kind of just saying like a generic, like, isn't that what it is about? In the first place, like
the
being greedy
of the entire thing.
Yeah, so I found that pretty funny, but that is not something that bothered me whatsoever. I was just like, guys, let it slide. It's fine. It's not that far off to begin with anyway. So, but it is, it has truth to it because, it is pretty much what these movies are about. This kind of like greed and not considering the history and the warnings and the advice of others. It's just about going in headstrong and doing it. And that's what's happening here. And it is something to be worried about, I think, personally. But I mean, I don't know.
Look, I put out every time we do an episode of The Wire, I put out on our Facebook group, the Jurassic Park Podcast community, which you can all head over there and check out. I put out like, hey, what do you want us to cover on The Wire this month? Like, what's got you excited? What's got you concerned? Right. Mm-hmm. Now, I did it kind of late this week. And I got 2 responses over on the Facebook group, both of them concerned with the cast and crew of the film for COVID-19. So Connor Dennehy O'Keefe said, very excited that the filming starts soon. After years of wanting Biosyn back, it's cool to see that they might play a part in the upcoming film. We'll maybe talk about that later. But I'm also weary it may be completely overstuffed with cast and dinosaurs, of course, in one movie. Too much of a good thing. Time will tell. Oh, that had nothing to do with COVID-19. My bad.
But it is about the cast and being overstuffed, and also leading into the fact that this could be rushed. Completely rushed. Could be rushed. So yeah.
And then Dakota Lee Morgan says, with filming starting soon, how do you sanitize the animatronics? And I actually want to go even further. How do you sanitize everything on set? Like.
Yeah,
I kind of made it like when I read that I make the joke. I'm like, what animatronics? Because there's historically been very few in these newer movies. But like again, food distribution, props, that you hand, like people aren't going to hand each other things. in these movies.
We all turn into Tony Stark, which I'm fine with. I'm like, don't hand me things.
Don't hand me things. Don't hand me things. Okay, before every take, everyone's gotta wash their hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This just doesn't seem practical.
It really doesn't. But at what point is it that you have to at least install some protocols and get something done, or wait? So how long do you have to wait before you're like, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way? Like, and I don't know if that's ever coming back. That's the thing. Like, I think
the old-fashioned way.
The way this before March, when things were rolling fine, and especially specifically this movie, like the way that they were filming this movie in the UK or Canada. Yeah. Where were they? They were in Canada. The way that they just did their thing. They just got the set. They just filmed their scenes, and that's fine. That's the way that they've always filmed movies. So I don't know if there's a way of going back to that style where it's just like, I'm going to go to set and not wash my hands or not do hand sanitizer or not wear a mask. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And it's kind of, it's strange. It's definitely strange. I mean, we do have, this is all from, let me bring this up here. This is all from Deadline. They kind of brought this to everybody's attention. And let me transition this over so you'll see it. We have a bunch of standards and stuff. Let's see. They're going to do like a private medical facility, I guess, is going to be kind of enacting all of this stuff. It's called Your Doctor. It'll manage and everything there. They'll do antibody testing, review all the hand sanitizer, social distancing measures, updates to, the government and how they're handling things as well. But let's see. The studio has commissioned Your Doctor to test all crew before they start on the production. Then they will test crew at times throughout the production. They will also be antibody tested, as I said. Thousands of tests, apparently. Temperature
you got to imagine there's got to be a few hundred people around set,
Yeah, and this is certainly, like you were saying, it's probably going to be more of a skeleton crew compared to what it usually is. But still, that's a lot of tests that they're going to have to do all the time. Temperature tests, not allowed on the site until that's done. Walk through temperature testing stations. So, I guess on either side of the studios. Capacity of 1,000 crew over 2 hours. So these testing stations, I guess, will have nurses, doctors, isolation booths. The crew's going to have to be tested before... I don't know. Never mind. Skip that part.
But this is like, so my company implemented these tests, right? Where you walk into the building. I don't know if you've done one yet, but basically you walk in, you look at a monitor, it like scans your face or whatever, and then like somehow can like tell your temperature from like 5 feet away, right? Mm-hmm. That's great. I don't have a fever today, but I might have got it 2 weeks ago, or I might have gotten it like today. I just now got it like standing in the line waiting for my test. I test great. I test negative. I go on to set and I'm like, I'm sweating because it's hot on set, right?
Yeah.
I'm
You're doing so many stunts.
Sweat. I'm doing work. I'm doing movie things, and
nature
I get
things.
a bunch of people sick.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about being asymptomatic and, are you showing any kind of signs? Probably not. I mean, a lot of people aren't, but they still have it. So you don't really know. And these are just standard precautions. This is not really anything all that crazy. They're also going to be given wristbands for identification. Okay. The studio is putting up 1,800 signs. Okay, cool. I don't even know that they're just signs. Like, okay.
I mean, are they providing N95 masks?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I think that's something they should absolutely be supplying to.
You would think, you would definitely think, maybe it's in here, I forget. The studio is rolling out full COVID training for all staff. So, everybody. And it says here costume and makeup specifically too, because that's something where like I'm going to be putting your costume on or doing your makeup right in your face.
My face is right next to your face. Like,
yeah.
come on, man. Like,
It sounds bad. Studio is manufacturing 150 hand sanitizer stations, 60 extra sinks. A lot of sinks around here, I guess. Let's see. They're doubling the cleaning recommendations. That's the thing that is boggling my mind, is now everybody's realizing, oh, we had to clean things before? And like, it really shows how badly we were doing things beforehand, you know? Let's see. They've got specialized antiviral sprays. Okay. And like, I just saw like a movie theater's seating area being sprayed with stuff. And I'm guessing that's going to be what happens here. The studio is setting up a green zone for the shooting cast and crew, which will have enhanced testing environment, more tests. That's the thing. These tests aren't going to prevent. So that's the problem. Additional security, maintaining temperature testing centers. But yeah, you're right. There's nothing about like the measures for the actors per se, as far as what they need to do, how they are not going to transfer things to each other, masks and whatnot. We don't really have any information on that.
Again, the actors can afford to go out and find their N95 masks, whatever, to wear like offset. But like, you know, the gaffer's not making much money, you know, like I just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand for I'll say a average paycheck, right? Because they're like, you know, crew is obviously not making the money like actors or directors or whatever. But like, why should these people have to be concerned about getting the proper protection? Like, this should be being provided to them on set, and maybe it is, but I don't think that a testing facility, like you said, all that's doing is just testing. That's not preventing. Like, at this stage, if someone has a fever, like, you would think that they're smart enough to be like, you know what, I could have this, I'm going to stay here. But by that point, it's too late. They were at work the day prior. Yeah. So,
I mean,
like, I don't know.
I don't know the specific amounts and stuff, but like a few baseball players just got, you know, tested positive, and they're starting their season, you know, in a few days. The NBA just had like something like 19 players just test positive, and it's like they're starting their season. They're in Florida, you know, gonna be starting at the end of July. So it's like it's not foolproof, and no, they're taking huge risks, and that's why it's so questionable for me with like somebody like Maisie or Isabella, and of course you mentioned the older cast, but like it doesn't care who you are. It's like a dinosaur. It's not going to treat you differently. Everybody's getting hit the same way. And it doesn't matter if you're a peak health runner, you know, physical specimen, you're Chris Pratt, or you're, Sam Neill, who's a bit older than them. So it doesn't matter. So
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the biggest thing is, and I don't need to go on some giant rant, but like, the virus doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your politics. It will get you if you're around it. So, you know, I don't know.
I'm sure there has to be a lot of rebuttal from probably the actors and the crews and stuff like that, because I'm sure 100% of the cast is not and crew is not like, all right, let's go. Let's get this done. I'm happy to come back to work. I don't know if I've talked to many people that are happy to get back to doing things in an environment with a lot of people. You know, certainly there's a lot of people out there, but
my work announced like an extended like period of time, and it's like, great. Like, I don't want to be back in the way things were, right? Like, you know, my office is apparently prepping for the return at some point, you know, with social distancing and making sure that cleaning procedures are up to par with where they need to be. But I don't know. I don't have someone forcing me to go back to work yet. And I can't imagine, like, I'm interested. I wonder what the unions have to say about this. You know, because all the people on set are part of different unions.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Like, I wish Jurassic didn't have to be the example. Like, I really wish it didn't have to be the example.
I mean, we just gotta like sit here and just cross our fingers, man, and just hope that it all goes smoothly. I mean, certainly it could just be perfectly smooth and nobody, gets the virus or anything, and everything's fine. But it could just be pretty bad too, or just maybe one person or maybe somebody gets sick and nothing else happens. But it's scary.
I know we're talking
it's
like
scary.
The sky is falling, but
sure. It doesn't have to be every single person's infected and we're in a zombie apocalypse. It's just maybe one person dies, or maybe 1-2 people get sick. But even getting sick is bad for your health at this point, because you don't know what it's doing to your lung capacity, and the way you used to live is going to be changing. So, but anyway, it's going to be starting up, and it just seems like an iffy situation. So we'll keep an eye on it, of course. We're not like health inspectors or anything, but we're going to be keeping an eye, hoping everybody's safe here. So we'll see.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the most important thing, is the safety.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I just want them all to be safe. Look, I want this movie as much as everybody else. I want this movie June 11th, 2021. But
no, I want it June 11th, 2022. Brad,
look. Yeah, I was getting there.
Okay.
I want this movie June 11th, 2021. But I don't want issues. I don't want a rushed movie. I don't want, injuries, death, anything, sickness to affect that. Right. And I would rather them choose 2022 instead of looking like heroes trying to get this movie out on time, because if they get this movie out by June next year, they're going to be like, top of the heap, which, they don't really need to fight for that. I don't think, these movies have done well enough. Either. So they don't need to be this first, coming out or whatever they're intending. I don't know what their plan is, but move it. Stop being a hero.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree.
Well, let's
triggered, right?
For sure. Actually, let me just double check to see. I don't think anybody else. Nobody else really mentioned anything about that too much. I know I do see Belgian Jurassic here on Twitter did say Dominion's release date hasn't moved, and I hope it doesn't mean a drop in quality. So yeah, it's possible.
Link concerns. Yep.
Yeah, and Tame the Dragon 94 wanted us to talk about the resumed filming, and we did. So let's move on to our next topic.